My son is excluding me from his wedding because I refused to accept that he was marrying his brother's girlfriend. But he made the mistake of lying to his grandfather, and now no one is paying for the ceremony. I had always believed that I had a loving family. My family consists of myself, 55 years old, my wife Sophia, 50, and our two sons, Jared, 28, and Nathan, 25. My wife and I have spent our entire lives trying to create a good home for our children, and we've instilled what we thought were good values and virtues. I can't help but wonder if perhaps our upbringing is somehow responsible for what happened, because it's so heartbreaking and cruel that it has torn the whole family apart. Jared and Nathan always had a loving relationship. I'm not saying it was perfect, but it was like any other sibling relationship. They had their secrets, competition, and memories. They were very close. At least that's what Sophia and I thought. Nathan showed some signs of jealousy toward Jared, but we attributed it to normal sibling behavior. My wife agreed with me, and it was never serious enough to be a problem. There were many times when the opposite occurred. For example, Jared never had great social skills with girls. He was a shy and nervous guy in that aspect, while Nathan was more extroverted and always had more luck with girls compared to Jared. Jared used to feel upset and vent, and my wife and I would go and support him on his bad days, helping him reconcile. I don't know the private details of their relationship, but I know that Jared introduced Haley to the family around his second year, when he was 22 and she was 20. She was a warm and kind girl, and both Sophia and I appreciated her. Jared and Haley looked good together, and we could feel that he was very happy with her. Later that day, Jared came to me and confessed that she was the love of his life, and he was sure she was the one he was going to marry. I told him I was happy for him, and that I liked Haley. However, my advice as a father was not to rush things and to wait a little before proposing to her. I told him that they were both young, and as they grew, their beliefs and perspectives might change, so it was important to be completely sure they were compatible in the long term, not just in love. We saw Haley a few more times over the next year and a half. During this time, Nathan was not at home. Both sons had gone to university in other states by then, so Nathan couldn't come and meet Haley. A year and a half later, Jared and Haley began having problems. He didn't share anything with us, but simply stopped bringing her around, and it seemed like he was tense all the time. Whenever we asked him what was going on, he just said they were going through a rough patch and didn't say anything else. My wife and I knew we shouldn't push him to share things he wasn't comfortable with. A few months later, we found out that Jared and Haley had broken up. He was inconsolable for a while, and Sophia and I made regular visits to help him cope with his heartbreak. She was his first girlfriend, and it was very hard for him to get over the relationship. We kept asking him the reason for the breakup, but he never told us anything. Their relationship lasted a little over 4 years, and it took him another year or more to completely move on. Now he is dating a woman named Miriam, 26, and seems happy and at peace with her, which makes Sophia and me happy and relieved. Nathan, on the other hand, had a series of relationships and adventures. It was never serious or stable enough for him to truly introduce someone to us. We let him be, as he was an adult, and we assumed he knew what he was doing. What we overlooked, however, was that Jared had been trying to avoid spending time with Nathan since his breakup with Haley. We didn't realize at first, and we attributed it to coincidence. But in hindsight, I understand what was happening. Jared avoided family gatherings and didn't come home often. He had always been an introvert and didn't particularly like these gatherings, so we never pushed him. He stopped coming home and would send us tickets to visit him. This continued, and both Sophia and I didn't realize that something was seriously wrong with our son. There were times when I told him he needed to come home, but he always made an excuse, attributing it to his busy schedule. However, Nathan's behavior remained the same. He came home regularly, and nothing he said or did made us think there was tension between him and Jared. Things came to light just a few days ago when Nathan gave us some news. He told us he wanted to introduce us to someone and hoped Sophia and I would accept her. We were quite excited because it was the first time he was introducing us to his girlfriend. We were eager to meet her, but when I saw who it was, I felt as if someone had ripped my vocal cords out. I was completely speechless. He came home with none other than Haley and dropped the bombshell that he and she were getting married, and that she was the one he wanted us to meet. Sophia and I were stunned. I kept staring at them for at least a couple of minutes. Part of me thought he was joking and that it was a big prank on us, but I could tell by the look on his face that he was serious. The first thing that came out of my mouth was whether Jared knew. Haley seemed very uncomfortable, and Nathan said that Jared had known about this for a long time and was fine with it. Now I know my sons very well, and I knew there was no way Jared was okay with this. I told Nathan to stop lying and that I didn't believe what he was saying. He lost his temper with us and began accusing us of favoritism and not being happy for him. He said that when Haley and Jared were a couple, both Sophia and I couldn't stop praising her, and now we couldn't even look her in the face, even though she was still the same person. He said he expected us to congratulate him and that we weren't even accepting his relationship, let alone supporting it. He told us we were being hypocrites for accepting Jared's relationship, but reacting so extremely to his. I told him that what he was doing was unforgivable and, frankly, nothing less than a sin in my eyes. I wanted Sophia to back me up, but when I looked at her, she wasn't there. 5 minutes later, she came downstairs with all of Nathan's important documents and threw them in his face, telling him never to show his face in front of her again. He said he had come to invite us to his wedding, but that we didn't deserve an invitation. I said that attending such a wedding would be one of the worst nightmares of my life, so I was glad he was withdrawing the invitation, as we wouldn't have attended anyway. He left furious with Haley, and Sophia and I just looked at each other in disbelief. By the time I processed what had happened, Sophia had already called Jared. She asked him if he knew, and he said that Haley had been unfaithful to him with Nathan, which is why they had broken up. He said that at first, he didn't know she had been unfaithful with Nathan. He just knew she had been unfaithful with someone. Jared said they had tried to move past it, but it kept haunting him, and he realized he didn't want to live like that for the rest of his life. He begged her to tell him who the lover was, but she refused to reveal their identity. All this stress had affected Jared, and he eventually decided to break up with her. 2 months after their breakup, she was already in a relationship with Nathan, and that's when he found out that his own brother was the one his girlfriend had been unfaithful with. I asked Jared if he had ever talked to Nathan about it, and he said yes. I asked him why he did it, and he said that in the end, Haley wasn't family, and he could have expected her to do something like that. But never Nathan. Nathan's only response to him was that we all do horrible things when we are in love, and that was the last time the two brothers spoke to each other. I asked Jared why he never confided in us, and he said he didn't want us to think badly of him. He felt it was a personal issue with Nathan, and thought involving us wouldn't have been right. Listening to him talk about having to be the better person, even though he had been the one wronged, broke me inside. I had tears in my eyes, and I apologized for not being a good father to him, and for not questioning the distance between him and Nathan all these years. It's been 3 days since Nathan and Haley visited us, and both Sophia and I are in shock. We've decided that we won't attend the wedding. I told her that personally, I didn't want anything to do with Nathan and Haley, and to me, they are dead. Jared, on the other hand, told us not to ruin our relationship with Nathan over this, but for Sophia and me, this is the right thing to do. Yesterday, I received a call from my parents. They live in the South, and although we don't see each other often, we are close. When my children were born, they set up funds for both of them, which was meant for their university. It hurt me a bit because I felt that as a father, it was my duty to prepare and save for them, and I also set up funds for them. In the end, the boys received partial scholarships and used my funds, so they both still have the funds set up by my parents intact. My father had told them both when they turned 21 that the money was for them to use as they saw fit, and that there would be no conditions on how they should spend it. Well, apparently, Nathan was planning to use that money to fund his wedding to Haley. My father called me to give me a stern talk about attending the wedding. Nathan had complained to him about our lack of support, and Dad was furious. He was practically shouting during the call, saying that he had raised me better than to abandon my own son, especially on the most important day of his life. He said Haley was a charming girl, and I should trust my son's judgment and not create a problem just because I didn't like my future daughter-in-law. He sounded quite angry, and I was angry too. I couldn't believe he was siding with Nathan and Haley after what had happened, but while he kept ranting, I realized that he probably didn't know the whole story between Jared, Haley, and Nathan. And of course, how could he? Jared hadn't told anyone in the family, and Nathan hadn't been the type of person to be open and honest about the whole situation. I silenced the phone and asked Sophia if we should tell my father the truth or just let it be. Sophia said he needed to know, otherwise everyone would be criticizing us and Jared for not supporting the family when, in reality, Nathan was the one making the mistake. When Dad finished with what he had to say, I told him I needed to share something with him, but he had to be willing to listen with an open mind. I then explained how Jared and Haley met, how Nathan wasn't even there at the time, and how Jared had brought Haley into our lives as his girlfriend. I went over the problems they faced in their relationship, and eventually their breakup. We also told him what Jared had revealed about Nathan and Haley's involvement. At first, Dad didn't believe us and accused us of favoritism, claiming that we were making up a story to save ourselves. He demanded proof of our theory. Sophia pulled out her phone and found a photo from one of our meetings with Haley and Jared and sent it to Dad. He didn't say anything. He just sighed deeply on the phone and told us he would contact us later. Early this morning, Sophia received a call from Dad, and she relayed the entire conversation to me. Things weren't looking good for Nathan after our conversation. Dad had called Nathan and Haley to ask if what we said was true. Nathan tried to defend himself and lie, but Dad realized he was lying. He then told Nathan that he wouldn't receive a single penny from the fund that had been set up for him. Nathan started crying on the phone, begging his grandfather to reconsider, but Dad stood firm. He said he wouldn't pay for a wedding based on a betrayal of the family. Nathan lost his temper and reminded Dad that on his 21st birthday, he had been told he was free to use the money however he wanted, and this was how he wanted to use it. He argued that it was unfair that he didn't receive the money, despite having been promised it 4 years ago. Nathan tried to manipulate my father by saying things like, "You're not a man of your word if you don't give me the money as you promised," and insisting that he had the right to the funds. The thing with my father is that he's always had a bad temper, and now, given his age, he doesn't have the patience to deal with this kind of drama. Nathan's constant complaints and attempts to pressure him had pushed him to his limit. Dad told him that at first, he had thought he wouldn't give the money for the wedding, but that he could still give it to him in the future. However, because Nathan was acting with such arrogance and without any remorse, Dad decided that he wouldn't give him the money at all. To make matters worse, he told Nathan that the money would now go to Jared. It was probably then that Nathan realized he had dug his own grave. He started apologizing, saying that he had spoken out of anger, but it was too late. Dad didn't budge, and Nathan would never see a single cent from that fund in his life. Dad had basically called Sophia to inform her of these recent developments and thanked us for telling him the truth. He said that if he had given that money to Nathan and even financed the wedding directly, the guilt would have consumed him too. He also told us that he was planning to make the entire background of Nathan and Haley's relationship public within the family so that their true nature would be exposed. Sophia was a bit concerned about this plan because she felt that Jared might not agree. She pointed out that Jared had moved on, and dragging him back into this mess could do more harm than good. However, Dad said that he had already talked to Jared, and Jared had given his blessing, saying he was fine with the family knowing, and that Dad should do whatever he thought was best. Dad was determined to make the issue public, and just wanted to know if we had any objections. Sophia said that she agreed with whatever Dad wanted to do, as Nathan was dead to us. She added that she would speak with me and share her thoughts on the matter. I told her that I was more than happy with what Dad had decided to do. I know this might seem petty, but infidelity has always repulsed me. Knowing that my own son was involved in a romance with his brother's girlfriend has made me lose all respect and love for Nathan. I can't help but feel that there may be something wrong in the way we raised him for him to turn out this way. I wish this had never happened, but I know that at this point, my priority should be to take a firm stand in favor of Jared and not worry about the family's reputation. The worst that can happen is that people will judge Nathan for what he's done, and in my opinion, he should be judged. His actions are unforgivable, and no amount of redemption can save him. I know this is going to turn into a big drama involving the entire family, and I'm afraid of the repercussions it may have on Jared. But if Jared is okay with it, then I have no right to say otherwise. I would give anything to not be in this situation, but I feel helpless, and this is how things stand now. Update 1. We all received a forwarded message from Dad. I'm copying the entire message here. I've always loved my grandchildren and have tried not to be biased. I'm not saying that I've been an extremely present grandfather, but Judith and I have tried to love and care for them as best as we could. When Jared, Nathan, Bianca, Roxana, and Tyler were born, we set up funds for each of them to use however they wanted. This, however, had an unspoken condition, that none of them would use this money for immoral activities. I wanted to give this money to Nathan for his wedding to Haley, who seemed like a very sweet girl when Judith and I met her. I was more than happy to contribute to their lives. Imagine my shock when I discovered a few days ago that Haley was actually Jared's ex-girlfriend and that Nathan and she got together because she had been unfaithful to Jared. It seems so unbelievable that my first reaction was not to believe this information. However, to my complete dismay, it is indeed what has happened, and now I am withdrawing my offer to finance the wedding. What he chooses to do with that fund is now my decision, and none of you have any right over it. I also want to inform you that I will not attend the wedding because I cannot see myself participating in such a union. It was imperative for me to share this information in case Nathan and Haley try to defame me or question my principles and ethics. What you do with this information is up to you. This message has been forwarded to everyone we consider close family. I don't know if I've sent this message to Nathan and Haley, and I'm not interested in knowing if they've been hit by it or not. My sister called me when she received the message and asked me what the hell was going on. I told her that Sophia and I found out a few days ago and were as shocked as anyone else. She is understandably angry with Nathan and has said she won't attend the wedding. I told her that Sophia and I won't be attending the wedding either, and she sighed in relief. She felt that maybe my wife and I were in agreement with this, or were willing to tolerate Nathan for the sake of appearances. I told her that we had cut all ties with him and that we had nothing to do with him anymore. She asked me if I knew whether Nathan had received the message or not, and I told her I didn't know and that I wasn't particularly concerned about it. I don't know who else has received this message, and I don't care how Nathan is going to finance his wedding. All I know is that I raised him better, and if he has chosen this path for himself, then he is no longer my son. P.S. Judith is my mother, and Bianca, Roxana, and Tyler are my sister's children. Update 2. The wedding has been canceled. Nathan came to our house 10 days after my dad sent the message. He broke down in front of us saying that we are the reason for his unhappiness and misery. Apparently, the recipients of the message also included some extended family members, and all of them refused to attend the wedding. There was a lot of embarrassment and insults, and Haley couldn't handle the stress. She canceled the wedding and has not responded to their calls or messages. I can't say I felt bad for him or wanted to console him. I simply didn't know how to stop his crying, so I had to throw him out of the house. I'm glad I didn't give in because I later found out that Haley had told her family a completely different version of the story. She claimed that the breakup with Jared happened a year earlier than it actually did, and that he knew all about her relationship with Nathan and was okay with it. Everyone in her family believed her story, but when the truth came out about their relationship, they were all disgusted with her. She has been disinherited by her parents and cut off by her family. Her cousins, with whom she was apparently quite close, have stopped talking to her. Her friends, who had a good relationship with Jared and used to hang out together often, also thought that the breakup between Haley and Jared was mutual, but since Dad sent the message, they've abandoned her too. She's now miserable and completely alone. Nathan is blaming us, saying that we had no reason to unnecessarily get involved in his life, and that his life was ruined because of us. Both Haley and Nathan have lost all goodwill and respect from the family they were close to. I told him it might seem easier to blame us, but the fact is that he dug his own grave when he decided to get involved with his brother's girlfriend. He tried to make us believe it was all about true love, but Sophia didn't give in. She was very firm with him and said that he was the only one to blame and that he was a repulsive creature to her. She couldn't believe how her son had turned into that. I tried asking him again why he chose to be with Haley, knowing what had happened with her and Jared, but he had no answer. He said Jared was the one who had been holding a grudge for too long, and that these things just happen in adulthood. I asked him if he regretted breaking his brother's heart, and his only response was asking us if we felt remorse for sabotaging his marriage. That's when I realized it was a lost cause, and no amount of understanding or conversation would make him see the reality. I told him that this was the last time the doors of my house would be open for him. He was free to do whatever he wanted and go wherever he wished, but he no longer had a place in my life after what he had done. He said that we love Jared more than him, and that we're making it so obvious that it's hilarious. I told him we always treated him equally, but if he thinks we're playing favorites, he's mistaken. I told him that we are on the side of what is right, not just Jared's side, and just because he can't see or realize that what he did was wrong doesn't make it right. He clearly wasn't interested in anything I had to say. He looked at us with contempt and left. This happened last night, and he's blocked Sophia and me everywhere. I can't say that it doesn't hurt to lose my family and watch it crumble before my eyes, but I feel powerless because I know there's nothing I can do to make things go back to how they were. Update 3. It has been a month since the wedding was canceled. Haley and Nathan have ended their relationship, and Haley had the audacity to try to reconcile with Jared. She called him, apologized for what she had done, and asked if she could have another chance with him, and with that, a chance for forgiveness. Jared blocked her number after that, and he even mentioned that she might try to visit us. Fortunately, none of that has happened, although it was just a week ago. Nathan still believes he hasn't done anything wrong and is not speaking to anyone, or rather, no one is speaking to him. We don't know where he is, and that worries me. But I don't think I should extend an olive branch. This is where things stand now. Now that everything is settled, I suppose this is how things will be going forward. I never thought my family would have to go through something like this, but I think fate had other plans, and all I can do now is stand firm in what I know is right. Update 4. Today, Haley came to our house. It was a visit we didn't expect despite being warned, and to be honest, it was a bit uncomfortable. Sophia and I were in the living room when we heard a knock at the door. When I opened it, I was surprised to see her there, with red, swollen eyes as if she had been crying. She asked to speak with us, and although my first reaction was to ask her to leave, Sophia looked at me and suggested that we listen to her. So we let her in. We sat in the living room, and Haley started to speak. She said that she had come to apologize for all the damage she had caused to our family. She admitted that what she had done was wrong, that she knew she had been cheating on Jared, and worse, with her own brother. But she assured us that it was never her intention to hurt anyone. She told us that she had fallen in love with Nathan, that the feelings had developed in a way she couldn't control, and that she hadn't known how to handle the situation. She said the weight of the guilt had become unbearable for her, so much so that she couldn't live like that anymore. That's why she had decided to break up with Nathan for good, because she couldn't continue in a relationship that had started in such a dirty and painful way for everyone involved. When she finished speaking, there was a long silence in the room. Sophia looked at me, waiting for me to say something, so I took the floor. I told Haley that I appreciated her coming to apologize. It was clear that she was going through a difficult time. However, I also told her that although I appreciated her apology, I couldn't forgive her. I explained that the pain she had caused our family couldn't be erased with a few words. She knew very well what she was doing when she decided to cheat on Jared, and worse, when she chose to do it with her own brother. It wasn't an impulsive mistake. It was a conscious and deliberate betrayal. I told her that she had destroyed more than just a relationship. She had broken the trust and harmony in our family, and that was not something that could be easily repaired, if it could be repaired at all. Haley began to cry again, and although it hurt to see her like that, I stuck to my position. I told her there was nothing we could do for her, that she would have to face the consequences of her actions on her own. Sophia didn't say anything, but it was clear that she agreed with me. Finally, Haley stood up, murmured one last apology, and left with her head down. When she left, Sophia and I stayed silent for a long time. We knew we had done the right thing, but that didn't make the situation any less painful. Update 5. Things have taken an unexpectedly happy turn amidst all the family chaos. Jared has given us the news that he is getting married. He introduced us to his girlfriend a few months ago, Miriam, a lovely and affectionate woman with whom we all immediately got along. When he told us about the wedding, everyone in the family was excited and filled with joy for him, especially my father. When my father heard the news, he wasted no time offering Jared the fund that was originally for him, as well as the fund that had been set aside for Nathan. It was clear that he wanted to make sure Jared and his future wife had the best possible start to their life together. Jared, always sensible, decided to use his own fund to pay for the wedding and use Nathan's fund as a down payment for a house to begin their new married life. Seeing Jared so happy and excited filled us with pride and relief. After everything that had happened, he was finally getting the happiness and stability he deserved. Sophia and I have been involved in the preparations, helping wherever we can, and enjoying every moment of this new chapter in his life. However, not everything has been so simple. A few days ago, I received a call from my sister. She was very happy for Jared and congratulated us on the upcoming wedding, but then the tone of the conversation changed. She told me that Nathan had been trying to contact the family, apparently to apologize and try to fix the relationships he had broken. My sister told me that while some were willing to listen to him, most were turning their backs on him. His attempt at reconciliation wasn't being well received. I thanked my sister for letting me know, and told her that for now, my focus was on Jared, and making sure he had the wedding he always dreamed of. I couldn't allow the drama with Nathan to overshadow this important moment for him. After hanging up, I was left thinking about how complicated everything has become. It's hard to see a son stumble so badly, but I also know I can't let his mistakes continue to affect the family, especially now that Jared is about to start a new chapter in his life. For now, all we can do is support Jared.